Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with another Star Wars video. This one's going to be me just talking about all the reveals and stuff like that happened from Star Wars Celebration at the end of last week. So I was planning to record this video yesterday, but my throat was like super sore after recording the podcast on Sunday, so I could like barely talk yesterday. So that's why I wasn't able to do a video yesterday, but feel better now, so I'm all ready to talk about all the Star Wars reveals from Star Wars Celebration. So I'll start off with the first thing that happened at the convention. It opened up with obviously the Force Awakens panel. We had Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams out there, and we had a lot of other stuff, like they brought the three new actors out on stage who are playing our three new characters. They brought a bunch of the kind of older actors out. We had to reveal that BB-8 is actually like a real kind of robotic kind of prop type thing, so that was really interesting. And then of course, you know, some questions, some classic stuff like that. But the big thing was the trailer. And yeah, the trailer was interesting, you know. Maybe I was expecting a little bit much, but you know, they said, when he said it was a teaser, I was just like, oh, so it's not a full-on trailer, still just a teaser. But it was a little bit better than I think the first trailer, you know. It was kind of just like more of the same in that instead of just getting like one brief glance at Finn, you get like one or two shots. You get to see a little bit more about what's going on. Rey, you know, is only in like one shot in the last trailer. You get to see a little bit more of her. You have narration by Luke this time, so like you almost have like this dark side trailer for the first teaser, and then this is kind of like the good side thing. Luke referencing, you know, his family kind of history. You have the look at Darth Vader's mask. You have the lightsaber being passed to, I think it's Leia. I think that's kind of confirmed that someone is giving Leia the Anakin's old lightsaber, Luke's lightsaber, so on. So that's interesting that some of those kind of things are going to continue, and we see Luke as well in the trailer, even though we don't see his face. You see the robotic hand, R2-D2's there, so it's just setting up, so I suppose, the mystery around Luke in the kind of movie. And we do know from like spoilers and like kind of a lot of rumors coming out that he is going to have like a pretty like mysterious role in the movie. Like we're not exactly sure how much of it he's in and stuff like that. But in general, it doesn't reveal a massive amount about what exactly the story of the movie is. And they're very much focusing just on the kind of early section that appears to take place on this planet Jakku, which is interesting just to learn that it wasn't Tatooine, it is a new planet, Jakku, and it'll relate into some of the Star Wars Battlefront information I'll talk about next. Yeah, just the idea that it seems like all of these characters are going to come together on this planet, that Rey is living there as like a scavenger, Finn is going to come there as a stormtrooper, Poe Dameron, I assume, will come there just because of maybe the aftermath of some battle that will lead him there, and they'll all meet, somehow come together and be saved by Han Solo, who we also see there. And obviously the big final part of the trailer was him and Chewie coming on screen. And yes, it was fun to see it. I didn't have the crazy reaction like a lot of other Star Wars fans did, because it's just like, okay, Han Solo, Chewie, cool. Not my favourite characters in the entire Star Wars universe, but it was cool to see, I suppose, the look they were going for with those characters a bit older. Like Wookiees live a bit longer, so you don't notice too much of a change in Chewbacca, but definitely, you know, seeing an older, you know, Harrison Ford as older Han Solo was fun to see. But definitely, you know, my interest isn't on like, oh, I'm super excited to see Han Solo. That was definitely kind of this nostalgia pop moment. They put it there specifically so they'd get that cool moment at the end of the trailer. Yeah, overall pretty interesting. The only negative I think that come out of the Force Awakens panel was just that a lot of the questions, and if you watch the live stream over the few days it was on, a lot of the questions by the presenters, and especially the way a lot of their guests answered them, was very like the prequels never happened type thing. It was very anti the prequels. Like the question that like the panel just like so someone asks the question like how much of it is like practical effects compared to CG, and then J.J. Abrams says like, even though we're still going to have a lot of visual effects because it's a Star Wars movie, a lot of it is practical, and the crowd just like erupts, and I'm just like, that's kind of misrepresenting the prequels there, because yes, they have a lot of CG in them, and they're well known for having a lot of blue and green screen scenes, but they still had a lot of practical effects. Like, watch the special features on any of the prequel movies, and there's a ton of practical stuff that they actually did for those movies. Sure, it's not as much as the originals, and it's probably more than the new movies, but the Force Awakens is still going to have an incredible amount of CG in it. You saw that from the first trailer. You probably saw a good amount of it here. There's only so much they can do with practical stuff, and it's just something like, is that always going to be the thing they have to do with the prequels, that they always have to like run it down for having CG? It just seems weird. Like, yes, it's cool that BB-8 is actually a practical thing and it's not CG, but at the same time, that's only possible because technology has advanced even further than it was back in like 1999, where they made Jar Jar basically a CG character only because they couldn't make a robot and stuff like that. But yeah, still, the Force Awakens panel was really cool. The biggest disappointment, I think, of the whole convention basically was the Star Wars Battlefront trailer, which was, I think, the big thing the second day of the convention. Now, there's this whole DICE panel everyone was like excited to see because they'd revealed it at like E3, like they shown like a little bit of trailer, a little bit of footage, but we'd never seen gameplay for the game. And they were hyping this up so much. Like, the presenters on the stream before the panel started were hyping this thing up like we were going to get to see everything. This was the best game of all time. And everyone was believing it. The problem was, I'll get to the panel in a minute, but that about an hour before the panel was meant to start, the embargo from the press, all the video game websites, basically broke. And so everyone who had seen footage of it, like at the convention or beforehand, were now allowed to write articles, basically not revealing any screenshots, apart from a couple like press screenshots or gameplay footage, but they were allowed to talk written text and stuff like that about their experiences with the game and what they saw. This revealed like 10 times more information than the actual panel did. The panel was made basically redundant an hour before it even started. The only thing of note was the trailer that they showed. And even that was just like a bit of a disappointment because it was just a CG trailer. Yes, it was in-game engine footage and stuff like that, but it was just like, that doesn't really matter. Like, okay, they even said like, yes, there's some stuff there to make it a bit more cinematic, but it's just like, everyone only wants to see gameplay, so what's the point of this trailer? Like, it doesn't really show us anything crazy of note. It shows us a few of the locations like Endor, Tatooine, and so on, and Hoth, and there's heroes back, obviously, like we see like Boba Fett or something like that. That's fun, but where's the gameplay? It's a game. That's all anyone wants to see. And I get it, they're keeping it back for E3, I assume. They probably have some deal with E3 to make the gameplay reveal there, but it was such a problem that attendees and then like press all, as we assume, got to see some gameplay, and it's only the audience like at home that didn't. And it's just waiting for like nothing. In addition to that, I think the game, like, I'm really interested in the game. I'm going to get it, like, regardless. Like, it would take some crazy information coming out for me to not get this game for Xbox One. That's the console I have. But for me, there was a few negative things with the points that came out from it. Like, it's cool that there's third person, first person. I like that. I like third person and first person shooters. But for me, the biggest negative was that apparently there's no Clone Wars stuff at all, no prequel era content in this game at all. The only factions right now are Rebel and Empire, and so I think there's a lot of people really worried about the scope of this game in terms of how many like maps, planets, locations are we actually going to see, compared to like the other previous games. Because for me, the Battlefront games like 1 and 2 were great because you could choose either one. Like if you're in a prequel trilogy mood, you could do the clones, the Grand Army of the Republic against the Separatists, or if you're in an old trilogy mood, you can do Empire against Rebels. Now we were just stuck with just the old trilogy stuff, and it seems like this whole Disney thing of just very anti-prequel, in that nothing over the course of the whole weekend, I think, was announced prequel-wise. As far as I'm aware, there was nothing set in the prequel era announced, comic-wise, book-wise, or in the video game. And that to me is terrible. Like they yes, they've already done the thing where they've made most of the books like non-canon legends now, and that removes a lot of prequel era stuff that I think adds a lot to it. But now they're not even apparently adding on to it, and I get it. You know, they're moving into a period post Episode 6 that are focusing on original trilogy stuff, but the prequel era is still there, and now there's very little to it because of the change. But it just made no sense for me not to have it in the game, because so much of the success of Star Wars games that make Battlefront an interesting title is definitely around the fact that there's Clone Wars stuff, the fact that Battlefront is fundamentally a war game, and we got to see more wars in the Clone Wars than we really did in the original trilogy kind of stuff. But it's still going to be fun. I think I just really want to see some gameplay. I think it's 20 on 20. It's confirmed, so it's 40-player matches. There's some sort of a single player mode, but it's not like a campaign. But I don't think anyone really expected that. There's no like ground to space combat. There's no space combat in the game overall, but you can fly like X-wings and TIE fighters in atmosphere over the battle, which seems pretty cool. It's maybe a bit ambitious to try and have battles go all the way up into space and go back down to the ground. So they're kind of restricting it to the ground so they can just focus on making it the best kind of ground battle ever. So that seems cool to me. And come E3, I'll probably be like amazed by this game where we get to see gameplay footage. It's just like you had this big panel, you hyped it up, offered this trailer, and then the press to reveal more information than the actual developers at this panel. It was a bit of a negative for me. Other than that, the Star Wars Rebels panel was, I think, the next day. And for me, this is probably the highlight of the whole convention from Star Wars Celebration. The trailer we got for Rebels Season 2 was amazing. It basically just confirmed what everyone wanted to see based on the Season 1 finale. Where Ahsoka's going to be basically part of the main cast. Darth Vader is going to be part of the main cast. He seems to be the main villain of Season 2. Even though the trailer seemed to hint at other kind of villains, possibly other Inquisitors coming in. But he seems to be the overall bad guy. And seeing stuff like Kanan fighting Darth Vader was really interesting. They held back, obviously, on showing any footage of Ahsoka fighting Vader, but that seems like something that's definitely going to happen. And it asked the question of, like, what does she know about Anakin? Does she know he's Vader and stuff like that? So it's addressing the important stuff and just other stuff like Captain Rex is still alive. Those older clone troopers. I think it's Rex, Gregor, and Echo, I think. But I'm not sure who the third clone trooper is. We'll see when the episodes actually air. I didn't look up spoilers for the premiere, Siege of Lothal, I think it's called. That happened at the convention. I don't think it was streamed live. They did confirm that the premiere for Season 2 is going to happen in the summer. No date set, so it's going to be in the next 2 to 3 months either way. So I'm excited for that. But that trailer just got me so hyped. I think also they confirmed Season 2 is 22 episodes, so that's it's 8 more episodes I think than Season 1, so that's a positive. They're going for something bigger. Seems to be a lot more story focused, so it won't be as kind of like all over the place as the start of Rebels was. So that's pretty exciting. So Rebels definitely a big highlight for me. The other kind of big reveal, I suppose, was that they released the first details pretty much about Star Wars Rogue One. The big thing here being that they're calling these spin-off movies anthology films. They're going with the kind of title Star Wars Anthology and then the name of the movie Rogue One. They also confirmed that Rogue One is going to be a prequel to Episode 4 A New Hope, with the idea being that it's this squadron of pilots who go on a mission to capture plans for the Death Star. So basically setting up how the rebels have the plans for the Death Star as of the start of A New Hope. So the whole many Bothans died thing. So maybe we'll get to see some Bothans. So that seems pretty cool. I'm excited for that movie. That seems like a really clever idea, because it's kind of one of those things like, okay, you're saying, okay, we've been working, we got those plans, but how did that actually happen? There's probably a cool story there. That's the sort of thing that makes complete sense. But definitely, I'm more excited for in terms of like standalone films for some prequel era stuff, but Disney don't seem to like that. But hopefully they do it at some point. And you know, I think they said they'd show some sort of a trailer, but it was all old footage and old dialogue, and they just confirmed what the logo is and stuff like that. So I don't think they've even started filming on that movie just yet. But I'm excited for it. I think they confirmed there's no Jedi in it at all, and that was very specific because they wanted to just show the just normal people how they are able to kind of impact the fight against the Empire. So that was pretty fun. Um, but yeah, other than that, the other big things would probably be the Dark Horse. No, not the Dark Horse. It's the Marvel now, Marvel Comics panel, and the Del Rey novel panel. And again, you know, they didn't really reveal like a lot. I think they confirmed that Star Wars Kanan, the Last Padawan, is getting a second arc after the first 5 issues complete the first one. I think that's really interesting. Like continuing that, so we're going to get even more of Kanan's backstory. They confirmed that issue 7 of the Star Wars, kind of just the comic called Star Wars, is going to be focused on Obi-Wan during his time on Tatooine, which is very interesting. I'll probably buy that issue. They said something like they're probably going to continue something after Princess Leia series is over. They confirmed the Lando series. And then they confirmed something else, the Road to Force Awakens kind of comic, and there's going to be a comic series kind of setting up the Force Awakens coming out. And then novel wise, they didn't seem to reveal like a massive amount of stuff. Just that again, you know, there's going to be a bunch of novels, like 5 or 6 novels, coming out in the lead up to the Force Awakens. There's that Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Voss book coming out in the next couple of months. I'm definitely interested in that. That's actually a prequel era thing that I didn't mention. I'm super interested for that one. And yeah, just some other stuff like that. There's like a Battlefront novel coming out. They said it doesn't tie into the games, and it's more just like frontline rebel soldiers telling a story. So I assume it's just going to tell the story of a certain battle. But speaking of that, actually, I forgot to mention during the Battlefront thing, they did confirm that one of the DLCs that will be available will be a free DLC coming out like, I think it's the week before The Force Awakens premieres, and it's telling this kind of prequel battle to The Force Awakens, the Battle of Jakku, which is going to explain why there's like a Star Destroyer on Jakku and stuff like that. So it's going to be the big battle kind of, I suppose it happened just before probably setting up The Force Awakens, so that's a pretty cool thing. But back to the novels. Yeah, pretty much that's it. They also confirmed something like there's this book called like Ambush or something like that, which is the first of 3 novels set after Episode 6, which are kind of like the first step, kind of post Episode 6, setting up the galaxy where it is post going into Episode 7. So overall, Star Wars Celebration, I think, was a pretty big success. Obviously, as people come back from the convention this week and like podcasts and stuff like that actually discuss events, we'll get more and more information from people who attended. But just from me watching at home and seeing what has come out, I'm pretty excited. There were some disappointments for sure, mainly with the Battlefront stuff, but the movies, the TV shows, the comics and novels, I'm really excited for what's coming up. So in general, I'm pretty excited for what Disney's doing. I just wish they weren't so avoiding the prequel era. I wish they weren't so anti that, apparently, and the sooner they announce more stuff about that, I think the better. But other than that's my thoughts on Star Celebration. Definitely in the comments let me know what your thoughts were. But other than that, thanks for watching this video, and bye.